Hello and welcome back to my channel, Meta Messiah, and this is very easily a very exciting time in crypto in general, with Bitcoin especially and Ethereum spot ETFs in the horizon. I mean, the SEC is going to approve some of them, I have no doubt. But with Okinami this week, it's very interesting how this mysterious token that has as part of its narrative the wave and ripple, the Satoshi Nakamoto book, XRP post. Somebody with XRP recently posted a picture of that book, and while it's not something that Okinami can claim its dev created or anything like that, it's just associated, and it's associated in part of its narrative. And what it is representing is the tidal wave of the financial system entering into the fiat, which is electric right now. It's digital credit card. It's mostly, we don't use as much cash, nearly as much in today's day and age. But moving from the fiat to the crypto markets, Bitcoin being the leader, being the SEC's accepted. The SEC legally has admitted by law, and the litigation from the XRP suit is essentially validated that Bitcoin, and also statements from the SEC have validated that Bitcoin is a legitimate commodity, and it is not a security, but it's investable, just like orange juice concentrate is investable, just like cotton is investable. It's a commodity. So you're buying a digital asset, a smart contract, and it's digital currency. So this is where we're heading in terms of the paradigm shift. And that book, Wave and Ripple, I mean, as XRP begins to do what it's doing with the financial institutions, as Bitcoin more or less consolidates within a inherent barrier that's coming down, meaning the system is bringing in Bitcoin, making it so liquid it's as good as the U.S. dollar, better in some ways, because I can go anywhere in the world. I can go anywhere in the world and move Bitcoin, buy something. Hotel, done. That'll cover my drinks at the hotel. There are cab services all over various parts of the world that will take Bitcoin. That's my transportation. Even now, grocery stores and so on. That will lead to the integration of tokenization of any type of business. If Apple wants its own token, you could trade in its token to buy Apple things, pay your anything that you owe maybe to Apple as a subscription or whatnot. And then that would be Apple token. And that would be a centralized currency. But CBDCs, government issued cryptocurrencies, being an interesting player in this, because they basically have to take over the stablecoin market. CBDCs are not good for like current stablecoins insofar as competition, but there certainly will be some stablecoins that are decentralized still, because they'll have survived the emergence of CBDCs. I think that Okinami, in my personal opinion, an analysis of the evidence, lies somewhere in between mass adoption and the aspect of cryptocurrency mass adoption. Mass adoption will mean that Ethereum under EIP 4844 and the Surge, and I believe Okinami is the Surge token. This is part of its narrative. Great wave off Kanagawa. The Great Wave is its symbol. It's more than just the symbol, but the symbol very beautifully represents what the token's about, especially if you see this symbol throughout the financial industry, which you have. The Ethereum Foundation has the Great Wave off Kanagawa. It's all over financial institutions. We're seeing the imagery creep up, and it's very weird, and it's very ironic, and it's very serendipitous, with Okinami being all about how mass adoption requires a scaling solution, also a validation method with Ethereum that's reliable and very fast and very cheap, or else you'd have maybe Solana or others. But Visa and MasterCard, at least Visa has selected Ethereum as their preferred blockchain for transactions. And the only thing I can think of is that there might be some major gigabrain collaboration too between the brains at Visa and Ethereum. They're sharing information to develop Ethereum and using that data and using that technology, the coding or whatnot, to make it so that you could do 100,000 transactions per second. Because the blockchain, just inherently the way it works, outside of the regular internet, in the sphere of what is crypto on the blockchain, it can more efficiently do what a Visa credit card can do, but for cheaper. So it becomes a big marketing and push for the credit card company to adopt that into its business structure because it makes sense. Because you don't want to just represent US dollars. You need to have a store value that is a hedge on inflation. It's a hedge on currency fluctuations and volatility. We're going to see a lot of currency volatility heading into the next decade. Basically, I would imagine from in the current decade that we're in, to the end of 2029, we're going to see tremendous currency volatility around the world as banks start to collapse left and right. The next Lehman Brothers scenario is most definitely on the horizon. I think it'll just be another big bank that over leveraged itself, and it just calls into question fiat, and that they need to start. Banks will be forced to add in Bitcoin because it needs to back up something that's worth more than dollars. Okay. Worth more than British pounds. It's basically saying government currencies, you all messed up. You over leveraged your own money in debt, and you're trying to use debt as the means of creating more inflation to be able to pay off more debt. But it's a never ending cycle, and it requires printing infinite amount of money in the end. There's no limit or cap to printing money. Well, that's what the Romans did to their currency, is they diluted it by shaving the edges of the silver coins and their gold coins. So they start taking off pieces of their coins. People weighed them. They're like less. If a ton of those coins, you really see how much less. So their money, the Roman money was doubted, which hurt Rome. It hurt Rome. And Rome falls at some point. Yeah, all empires fall. There's just no doubt. Without getting into politics, this is history. Every single empire, including the Chinese Empire, 10,000 years culture, their empire had fallen. Speaking of China, speaking of Asia, just a transition, and talk more about Okinami, which is very much based in Asian iconography. Hokusai is worldwide famous, but Hokusai and Great Wave off Kanagawa, and that painting, that very famous woodblock, those prints in the late 19th century were perhaps some of the most sought after popular art of the time period. It influenced Vincent van Gogh and The Starry Night, which is worldwide one of the most famous pieces of artwork out there. I talk a lot about this. I am an artist. As you can see some things behind me, I'm an artist. My background's in law. My background's in working in the financial institutions myself. And I can tell you from the perspective of all of my background, if Okinami is everything we think it is, it's on the precipice now of this EIP 4844 adoption necessity upgrade. Ethereum's going to roll it out 2024. That means the community at large and people marketing are going to start to notice things that will, in the media, the dialogue and the monologue or whatnot, the greater mass communications in crypto are going to start talking about, well, how is Ethereum going to meet the needs? This is a problem. So they're going to make it a panic and be like, if Ethereum cannot achieve X, Y, and Z in scale and be very low cost and 100,000 transactions per second, so super fast, it could destroy the token. It could make that blockchain obsolete because you have Solana and other things that are competitors. So the very survival, this is true. I'm not fudding Ethereum, but it's a fact. The very survival of ETH, which spot ETFs are going to be on the table here. We're talking billions of dollars coming in. Spot ETF, BlackRock, Fidelity even, big buyers of ETH. Okay, so they're going to store a lot of it as investment, which is going to make it probably more deflationary, but it'll make gas prices astronomical if the supply is very low and gas price due to volume going up. So this upgrade is critical. So they have, if it's that important, it makes sense that they're pushing it back a few months. It was supposed to come out this quarter of 2023. Now it's going into next year. I think the talk, the discussion is going to be EIP 4844, especially as XRP coming in as another competitor. The ETH Foundation has to address this. It's the white elephant in the room. I talk about the white elephant in the room also in the Okinami main Telegram chat. All the links are in here. Okay, this is not financial advice, just entertainment purposes only. The legal disclaimers in the comments, I'm covered. Okay, you make your own decision, of course. Do your own research. But with the Telegram, I talk about the white elephant in the room. That's the LP lock. Okay, the liquidity pool lock of Okinami being in question right now, and it's actually gone up over almost to 1.5 million market cap. It went up 100% almost yesterday at one point, and is holding fairly nicely today. But bigger investors are not going to come in unless the LP's locked. Well, there's a strategy there. If I were the dev, I would do this because I am trying to keep big investors out. I don't want the token to go up so high as to defeat the spirituality, I guess I'd call it, bigger cult words, but the spirituality of pure DeFi and how people believe in this, because they want the small guy to get good shares in this. They want to change lives of people before they change the life of some rich guy, okay, or an institution. So yeah, no institution will even touch Okinami right now with the LP lock that's in question. There has to be sufficient liquidity. If an LP pool is abandoned and the community takes it over, it'd have to be a very strong show by the community, which the community is working on that. There's fundraising right now with the Okinami community. If you go to the Telegram, you can see where to send it. I'm not sure if it's going to the marketing wallet or in a whole new multi-sig wallet, which I suspect is a whole new multi-sig wallet. The team that's admin and the research group people that's in the works right now to basically have a super strong liquidity pool, maybe even investable, like a V3 on Uniswap. Pardon me, I'm getting over a cold. So with that being said, it's smart strategy not to lock your liquidity pool here and to stir up so much doubt. Nobody big's going to touch it, even whales with lots of ETH. 2.2 ETH, big buy other day. That was pretty significant. That's news. The website's back up. That's news. It has a little button on your desktop version on the Okinami website that says connect. I can only surmise that to see it as a spoiler of what's to come. I don't see it on the cell phone version or mobile. I don't see the connect button, but on my PC, on my laptop, I open up the Kanagawa Nami.com. Boom, there it is. There's no doubt you can see the website is up and running. I'm thinking it's up and running as of the time of this video. These are some exciting developments, and I think going back to the Wave and Ripple and the XRP tweet on Twitter, on X, I keep calling it Twitter because it's a habit. X has the the picture of everything, and it's very clear what that is. Going back to Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, the whole origin. This is the big daddy. He's grandpappy now. Okay, Satoshi and his amazing invention. It's an invention. And it's probably one of the most important inventions, like the printing press, because of what it does. The smart contract, the totally safe and scarce supply of something that, yes, without internet, naturally, if we're living after World War III, who's going to give a shit about crypto? we'll be wanting to survive with who's left looking for food, and so on. So as long as the world is as it is in this information age, moving into the robotics age, artificial intelligence is a big part of the narrative for the next bull run. That could come into play too. You can't rule out anything for Okinami. We haven't just seen it all yet. For all we know, there could be quantum, even something beyond AI. And I'm hyping right here because I have this completely a guess. I think Tsuka, given that it means to them a quantum digital currency, I can tell you this much: Okinami is a quantum digital currency too, because their code and Tsuka code is all the same. Okinami has the same code as Tsuka's, except for the byte code with the execution layer. And actually, it's rather significant, as I've come to find out, I think with respect to EVMs picking up the token, that the byte code and the token address, of course, what makes that token distinct, that's like a key in a lock type thing. It only will work on Okinami. Their address and their byte code, when a EVM or whatever, however the token gets pulled into the blockchain, that distinct layer of this digital asset and its coding tells me that there's a relationship here. Why would the two codes be the same? We have seen some Tsuka people in the Okinami Telegram, and we welcome them. All Sangha welcome each other. We welcome Suzume people. We welcome Hoichi. We welcome Hachi. Okay? All of the Ryoshi, true Ryoshi communities are all welcome. Just, all the Telegram asks is, if you're an Okinami Telegram, we talk about Okinami. That's fair. Same with the other Telegrams. That's kind of like the sacred part of the temple. Be like, why are you worshiping another god here at this temple? This is the Okinami water god. You wanted to worship the dragon? Go to the Tsuka temple and worship in that telegram. Very much temples in the cult of the crypto, okay? And it's just, call it for what it is. Who cares if it's a cult? If it's a cult, let it not be destructive. Let it be a good cult. Every early religion starts off as a cult. I mean, that's because it's just a small group of people. There's no institution, okay? It's a grassroots thing. There's two connotations of cult. Cult being bad from the word occult. Cult being bad from like Jim Jones, but not all cults are necessarily bad. If the cult is dedicated to something good, some would call maybe early Buddhists a cult. I mean, they're not a religion, but they've evolved into something very much like a religion. And I put a lot of blame on the Dalai Lama with that. I don't know about that institution. I'm Zen Buddhist, but I don't follow the Dalai Lama as like a head of a church. I'm Zen Buddhist just because I like to practice that in my life. I like to live that way as much as I can. And I'm not necessarily a strong practitioner of it, but I try my best, just like any other religion. So it's more to me ritual. It's more to me how it incorporated with my spirituality. But speaking of all this, just to end, there's a lot of spirituality and there's a lot of Buddhist, Zen, Asian philosophy, yin and yang type stuff in Okinami, in its narrative, like Tsuka's. A lot of the things that the Ryoshi messages on the blockchain sound like Tsuka's in very many ways. And we are Urashima Taro, okay? The turtle Otahime brings Urashima Taro, the fisherman under the sea, to the Dragon Palace. But he makes a critical mistake. He finds love in that world. He had everything. Urashima Taro is a fool, okay? That's why it's a very, very cool story how it relates to Okinami. Ryoshi means fisherman, okay? Okinami relating to the wave and the water. And in Hokusai's artwork, those are fishermen trying to survive that tsunami or great wave that's devastating, going to kill everybody on those boats unless you can row your way through that. If you could row your way through that and just come down on your on the bottom of the boat and splash without toppling over, you have to keep moving. All those fishermen have to paddle with everything they have left in their entire soul, okay, or they will die or lose. They lose the treasure, life. Urashimataro loses the treasure, and actually Otohime, the princess, who's a beautiful princess, he has everything he ever wanted living there with her. He made it. He misses his mommy and his daddy. Okay, think about this. This is a beautiful story because he wanted to go back because he misses everybody at home. It sounds like very wholesome. He Urashimataro misses everybody at home and wants to go home. He tells his wife, I think they're married, Otohime, I must go home. She's like, okay, here's a box. When you want to see me again, open it. He returns with the box and realizes time has passed. Everyone's dead. He's not seeing anybody. He's just seeing the truth. Time was different down there. But he goes back and then he opens the box because he misses Otohime. She says to him, open the box when you want to see me, if you want to come back. Time is relative. This is a cool story. Time is relative, like Einstein's theory of relativity. 300 years passed down there under the sea. And now he's like, nobody's here. I want to be where I was. What did I do? He probably, as a character, I would think he feels tremendous regret. He loses the treasure. He loses the girl. Imagine this was a movie. This would be a sweet movie. It'd be like, you lost freaking everything. Opens the box. And he deteriorates in old age and dies. The box opens the time vortex, and he's now out on the shore, back home, 300 years old, dies. He withers away like in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, like when he drinks out of the wrong goblet. Okay? He dies. There's a humor there. There's dark humor. If you understand Japanese literature and Japanese art, this is a very cool piece of literature from their art. Just like how Great Wave off Kanagawa is a very cool piece of literature. But in my study, and I was an English minor in college, I do have a background with literature and studying art around the world. That this Japanese story, from a Westerner's perspective, for me, is very ironic, okay? In a sick, dark humor irony. He had it all. Who doesn't want the Lambo? Who doesn't want the nice house? Yeah, poor people might be like, ugh, I'll scoff at that, but if I had it, would you give it up? Most poor people wouldn't. Good people. Excuse me, the little interruption there. Perhaps really good-hearted people, very good-hearted people, it doesn't matter to them at all. And that's humble. But, to the average Joe, who doesn't want the treasure under the sea? The Japanese equivalent of that time, he was living like a king, a prince, under the sea with Otohime, who's a beautiful princess, in this dragon palace, a different world. Think of the dragon palace as more of like going to another dimension. And he gets to live there. It's very Jack Carter-ish. But Jack Carter, in the end, actually gets back to the princess. And it's a happy ending. The Disney Jack Carter movie goes to Mars, a different time and place when there's civilization there. And, gets the beautiful princess, loses her, and wants to go back. He loves her. But he wants to fight for her people. And the good people. But Urashimataro, on the other hand, he doesn't have any cause. He was a fisherman, and he was good to the turtle, untangled the turtle, and his goodness in the beginning of the story, when it was just a turtle, Otohime was in the form of a turtle. He frees her, and that's why she's like, oh, he has a good heart. He's worth marrying. She brings him back to the Dragon Palace under the sea. Yet that wasn't good enough for Urashimataro in the end. He still missed his home. And I as you can understand his desire to want to see his family and all that, he doesn't know he's going to die by opening that box. That was his final fate. But he took control of his own fate, and he took the good fate he had and did what many would do. And that he looks back and he makes the decision to return but dies. But that's why he's a fool. Because it was very clear in the story, if you read it carefully, when Otahime gives him the box, she doesn't just say, oh, here's a box, go. I think there's a part in the story that I read, at least, where she's very disappointed. There's something evoking the emotions of the scene as it unravels. And then she's like, well, if you ever want, here's a treasure box. Or it's a box, a special box. Holds jewelry box or whatever. And I do believe there's a picture of something on it. I can't remember if it was a butterfly or something on it. But at any rate, it's this beautiful ornate Japanese jewelry box, little treasure box. And she specifically says, when you want to see me again, you open this box. But it's like ominous. It's like, what else do you think is going to happen? It's just going to bring you back home? Well, yeah, I mean, very naively, I would think too. I'd be, oh, I must open, I get to go see her again. In a sense, if you get really, really spiritual, maybe he does. He dies, and by this time, she will also have probably been dead, because 300 years passed, but maybe going back there, it would mean another 300 years passed. We don't know if these people live forever. Maybe they're immortal. Okay, so he loses her and he loses the treasure, but he had to make the fool's gambit. Go home or stay here. Your intuition sometimes just tells you something, your faith, your gut. Do I stick with the treasure? Do I stick with the treasure and hold it? Even though I have doubts and fears and I want to go home and see my family one more time? Or knowing that if I leave, I may never come back, and this box is like the only insurance I have. He doesn't know what's in the box. You don't know what's going to happen if you sell your tokens and never come back. Just like when you hold the token, you don't know what's going to happen just holding it. Either one is a matter of faith. One faith being I don't believe in it, I believe in something else. Or maybe I don't want to do crypto anymore. Or basically my faith is telling me that I need to hold this because there's a possible gem here. I'm not going to give it up. Those are the people being rewarded in Okinami. The story of Urashima Taro is embedded and imbued in the story. And then Mount Kailash is important because it is the nexus. It's the nexus between Tsuka and Okinami. Okay? Mount Fuji as well, but Mount Kailash. Okay? Milarepa. Okay, they're the code, the Tsuka code, the Okinami code are the same. Except for the byte code, there's a very distinct and important difference. That means they function differently on the blockchain. They'll do something different. They're different cogs in the wheel. We are possibly seeing two machine parts in a bigger picture. Each of these machine parts have to do something to create a broader ecosystem type solution. And I'm seeing that the EIP 4844 has to be a combination of L2s and roll-ups and proto dank sharding, node type proof of stake. Ethereum is now proof of stake. It's no longer proof of work. It's a myriad of interactions on the blockchain and all these new Ryoshi tokens. I think they draw two connections, sometimes to SHIB, sometimes to the ETH Foundation. Okinami being 40 days before the SHIB deployer wallet. But Tsuka being the first one that came out and has the Twitter Ryoshi research, and it has the Milarepa 4 days following Tsuka's stealth launch. Whereas for Okinami, there's a picture of somebody with the Okinami roadmap in the same place as Vitalik Buterin. Okay, they both have good narratives. Okinami never caught the influencers from Tsuka. Okinami didn't catch all the VC type crypto people investing. Tsuka was the first past the punch. But now that Tsuka's at like 20 million market cap, I'm sure it's going to do very well in the bull run. The Okinami people are sitting here on substantial possibility, and I say substantial possibility because of all this web of evidence laid to say, hey, Tsuka, the Sangha need you here too, okay? In all the other Ryoshi tokens, once they all combine, once everybody in this game works together as the communities collaborate, they just need to do so in both a, how shall I say, fully autonomous, okay, respecting each other's space and their telegrams, but in terms of working towards the same goals, which is the build one token you're in, but everybody builds each other and everything works in a machine fashion, each parts. But the sum of the parts are never greater than the whole. The sum of the parts are never greater than the whole, as the whole is EIP 4844. The wave imagery has shown up with Tsuka time and again. I mean, the Ryoshi connection, the Hokusai artwork I've seen posted in the Tsuka journals. It's just time for this partnership to be recognizable in that Tsuka, and I'm calling you guys out, Tsuka, you guys don't just look at your own survival on your own in this. There needs to be projects partnering and working together. It's critical to survive in the bear market and in the bull market to make as much money possible. Good partnerships yield good results. They do, and then you can sustain each other in good and bad time to build each other. I'm not sure in what way they could work together, but I believe they could work together. And I think that this marriage between the two communities is very much part of the story for Tsuka and Okinami. The fire, okay, Tsuka, the fire, the blade, the dragon, Okinami, the fisherman, the great wave off Kanagawa, fire, water, and heat and water needed to forge the blade. In order to make the Dejitaro Tsuka as a blade, not a quantum currency, not a in the sense of the man who wrote the story about Milarepa, Sangyang Haruka, which is where you get Tsuka from, but Dejitaro Tsuka is its full name. The samurai sword, you need fire to temper the blade and the hammer, and you need water. You need water to put the blade into part of the tempering process, okay? To crystallize the carbon within the steel, to make it hard steel, high carbon steel. The forging of this blade is dependent upon, okay? The forging of the blade is dependent upon Okinami and Tsuka. I think these are the two big giants in this ecosystem that everything's going to revolve around. And they will get bigger too. The satellites, I mean, I'm not trying to degrade Hoichi or Hachi or Suzume or any of the other Ryoshi tokens, whichever they may be. I name those because of connectivities and various people in the telegrams, the same telegrams. But that as Tsuka and Okinami begin their orbit on the blockchain, and these satellites start to gain theirs, they'll get bigger too, okay? It's just a matter of the timing of events. It's very possible one of these other tokens could go up in market cap higher, but I'm just talking about Ethereum roadmap, EIP 48 events that are supposed to happen because of development. Okay, in the surge, 2004. So again, Mount Kailash is in the Okinami narrative. It's in the Tsuka narrative. The Sangha are connected, Milarepa, so on and so forth. So much more than the code itself, in the narrative itself. I believe the communities are meant to work with each other. I think it makes sense that Tsuka people want to buy Okinami. A lot of Okinami people own Tsuka. They should be buying each other. That's great. That's marketing. That's You're bringing in buyers. They shouldn't be seen as enemies and to work against each other. The ones that are all Ryoshi all need to work together. And that's the underlying final thing I'm going to say. If you are a Ryoshi token, if you're fulfilling the spirit of Ryoshi and something else is Ryoshi too, Ryoshi isn't one person. Ryoshi is like, everyone could be Ryoshi. Everyone could be Ryoshi. And in terms of the developers of blockchain stuff like Shiba Inu, Tsuka, Okinami, all having SHIB connections, they all need to work together, period. SHIB needs them too. I'm telling you right now, SHIB needs Tsuka and Okinami to survive. Because it will still work within an ecosystem that's Ryoshi. And Ryoshi, you have to pay some homage to Shiba Inu as his baby. But he had to leave the baby. Shaitoshi, you got this baby now. Because it's true. Shaitoshi, you got yourself in deep, man. You need to reach out to what Ryoshi's doing. And I'm speaking to you right now, Shaitoshi Kusama. I'm going to tag you in this video. SHIB support for Tsuka and Okinami need to be there. Because Ryoshi's building some stuff and you need it to survive too and get bigger and sustain. Even though you're basically centralized at this point in time, I'm just being honest. That's why Ryoshi left. He left because of that. SHIB's too centralized. Shaitoshi, you could kill Shiba Inu tomorrow with one tweet. Shaitoshi could crash that entire token because he's too powerful. And Ryoshi, he resents that, but he doesn't resent you. He just resents the power itself. But you have it. You said you'll leave one day. That's great. But you haven't left yet. Maybe Shibarium needs to reach a certain point. But until then, I would consider Mr. Kusama, whoever you are, to support Tsuka, to support Okinami. These are going to be EIP 4844 solutions. The usage of ETH is critical to your ecosystems. If ETH does not pull this off, you're not pulling off Shibarium either. And it's because of how the interplay. You might be able to scale some Ethereum and do like Polygon, but in terms of people investing in the project and using ETH outside of it, new buyers, new wallets, new players coming in, it's critical. You have to have new players, just like all businesses and corporations. DeFi is no different in that aspect. I mean, you do have to have sufficient players and buyers, investors, just like in stocks coming in and out. There has to be investment, reinvestment, outside investment. Crypto's kind of coming in and taking over as the new technology stocks. But they're not stocks, they're commodities. And so they're unlike anything we've ever had before, but investable. Again, not financial advice, but I would have a bag. If I were a Tsuka person, I'd have a bag of Okinami. And as Okinami, I'd have a bag of Tsuka. Why not? I don't see enmity here. I see bad apples. There are bad apples in the Okinami community. For sure. There are bad apples in the Okinami community. There's bad apples in the Tsuka community. We don't care about those. We care about the good apples on both sides working together. A lot of the bad apples have been kicked out or left. We don't want them. They're just doubters, or they actually could do something to try to harm the project. I'll be so bold as to say there are some people in the Okinami fighting it in a way to try to destroy the project, because I know they sold their tokens. I guarantee they sold their tokens. They're trying to FUD people out. People do this for two reasons. They don't want to regret not having something they could have got by destroying it. So if they know that Okinami is destroyed for good and it never comes back, they feel better about selling it. The other reason is competition. I mean, now I'm buying Tsuka. I'll put my money from Okinami Tsuka. I want to see Okinami die because it's like us. No, certain things have to work together in tandem. I don't see it that way. I think both of them have an equal claim to Ryoshi. Neither can disprove either. It's like basically a Buddhist or a Hindu trying to convince a Christian not to believe, and a Christian trying to convince a Hindu not to believe. It's a matter of faith. In my prior videos, I'm talking about Tsuka's a matter of faith too. We don't know who controls Ryoshi research. It could be anybody. Could be anybody. Ryoshi's not one person. It's a LARP. Ryoshi's a LARP. Shiba Inu was a LARP. Was the first LARP. It was intended as a joke when it came out, which is how LARPish is that. And then the community just loved it. That's how it works sometimes. It's a formula that works in crypto. And so it could be used again in that way, and there's nothing wrong with it. Because if it makes other Shiba Inus, what's wrong with that? Could you imagine if Okinami was a 4 billion market cap, 5 billion market cap right now, or Tsuka? That'd make people hella money. I'm going very long on this, but I'm going to just end by saying I told the Okinami people I'm going to go on my own and invite the Tsuka people. I just ask you to respect what we believe, and we'll respect what you believe. But I think we can forge a strong partnership, just like forging that blade. Okay? You have to have the fire and the water. If you do not have the fire, you do not have the water, there's no blade. Okay? So Tsuka, you need Okinami too, I think. Especially to scale Ethereum down. And I mean, scale it and then keep the gas fees down and the transaction fees up. It's critical for every ERC20 token. If ERC20 tokens are anything other than just a reflection thereof, Ethereum, if Ethereum fails, every ERC token on the planet goes down with the ship. Unless you were successful to bridge it into another blockchain. I don't see ETH failing. I think they're going to succeed. They have all the brains on the planet to do it. And I think Okinami is going to be part of that story. I believe that. And if you don't have to believe that, but the people in my community believe that. And I welcome you to come believe that and to invest into that. So I'm just going to end in saying, Tsuka people, get it back to Okinami. We're on the move, and we have some of you with us. I think more should come. If you come to the Telegram, link in the comments, you'll find more Tsuka people with us. And they want you to come and to buy and to be supporters. And we'll try to be as big enough as a supporter of you. Not your bad apples, but of the token itself, the holders, the good people. Okay, so, and some holders could be bad people too, but depending what they do with it. But most, I'd say holders by and large, they're the good people. Because they're not trying to, they want their investment to succeed. With the exception of very few that are trying to screw other people over. Enough said. I hope you liked the video. This is a big shout out, reach out to Satoshi Kusama, Shiba Inu. It's a bumble with Tsuka reaching out to all you guys. Okinami welcomes you. Just please, be a good supporter of the community. And I'll put this out there. Like, subscribe, share. If you hate this idea, fine, just say it. I don't care. I think it's a good idea. Okay? I think these communities need to work together and create something powerful together. All right, please give this a share, guys. Please comment on it. Help boost this video so that lots of eyes see it. Give it a super thanks. For some reason, that boosts the videos tremendously because YouTube likes that. And I like it because I get a little money off the video, and I can put that towards more of Okinami. But in the end, please just, support with like, subscribe, shares, and comments. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you all in the Telegram later, everybody. Maybe I'll see you in the Tsuka Telegram soon enough, just to say hello to the Sangha. Bye now.